right, this is SFBarkast. I am Jeff Cleary.
I am Andrew Louder.
And Andrew, where are we today?
We are at Steffs Sports Bar.
Steffs Sports Bar on
that would
second.
That would be Steph with two F's and not a PH.
Yes.
So it's not like Steph Curry's sports bar. It's presumably someone named Stephanie.
Who are your favorite Stephanies or Steffs, Andrew?
Wow.
Not to put you on the spot.
Stephanie Jones? Is that a person?
I think so, sure. And I'm sure she's a listener.
Wow, I can't think of a Stephanie.
I'm going with
Stephanie Powers?
Oh, you have Stephanie Powers. That's a good one.
Heart to heart.
Stephanie Zimbalist.
Stephanie Zimbalist.
From Remington Steele, I believe.
Daughter of Ephraim Zimbalist Jr., who was the son of Ephraim Zimbalist, I believe.
Ephraim. who was also the...
Effie to his friends.
Ephraim, who was the guy that used to beat up Eddie Murphy on his first album. And Steph Mazzolini is a girl who cut my hair in high school.
Steffi Graf.
Steffi Graf, yeah.
I would think that this bar is named after a Stephanie and not a Steffi.
Stephanie.
Stephanie Zamorano from...
Jimmy Dore?
A competing podcast that we won't mention.
On another network?
Yeah, exactly.
And where is Steffs?
Steffs is on 2nd and Minna.
Right.
So
Soma? Like downtown, financial district, kind of.
Yeah, sort of. Right by the Art Institute.
I have a feeling it's going to what time is it now? It's before 5, right? So
a little bit, yeah.
It's like
Don't tell my boss. No.
Oh, yeah, by the way, Andrew hates his job. So it's about 15 minutes before 5 o'clock.
Right.
I am willing to bet this place explodes after 5 o'clock.
Yes.
Because so many people work downtown. It's got to be like a after-work happy hour destination.
Well, I don't want to, show everyone how the sausage is made. At least not yet. But originally the thought was that we would go to Eddie Rickenbacker's, which is right next door. But Eddie Rickenbacker's did a total remodel and in the wrong direction, if I might be so bold.
Did they take out all the motorcycles hanging from the ceiling?
All but a few. There's still a couple over the bar, but they basically, because the place used to be just littered with them, crazy with motorcycles hanging from the ceiling of all places, and they sort of are attempting to be much more, shishi or
classy?
Expensive. Yeah, exactly. I guess people don't want bike tires in their expensive foie gras sandwich or whatever they're having.
Well, enough about that bar.
About that.
What about this bar? This is a sports bar. It is a fucking whole wall of big television, so you can watch whatever you want. I kind of like the fact that when I walked in here, they had the Red Sox game on.
Yeah. On one of the bigger screens, even.
Yep. But also this is truly a sports bar because they have the Giants game on that was from last night. It's a replay, and they've got the sound going. People are really watching it.
Well, it's funny. The funny thing about this particular neighborhood, because I feel like we've been to 111 Minna, which is right across the street, a lot more than this place. I've been here several times before, and certainly Eddie Rickenbacker's when it had sort of an actual decor.
Back when it was cool.
Yeah, exactly. But this area, it used to sort of make fun of it because it was where all the Art Institute kids were. Ooh, but now those are the only people with credibility left in the city. So I actually kind of admire the Art Institute kids because at least they're artists and not techie dicks.
In the last 2 nights, I went out and met people in bars, and all people want to talk about is how the city sucks now.
Well, actually, yeah, we went to shout out to a friend of ours, Jim Gallagher, who recently turned 50 years old, and we went to a party at his place in Alameda, and of course, neither one of us are immune from this at all, but it's just amazing. When, you get a big sort of get together of old friends like that, and. Unfortunately, the first thing you think is oh my God, look how old everybody is.
Then you realize they're saying the same thing about you.
Yeah, exactly. Were you just saying that you're old? Because I was just saying that you're old.
Wow, what happened to you?
Exactly. It's oh my God, time has ravaged your once good looks.
But like I said,
Except for Mike Billington, who seems to look better with age.
He seems to look okay.
Yeah.
But I think I may have said this before, but it's almost passé now complaining about how the city has changed. And that's how I was trying to tell people in the last couple of nights, where people were just like, oh, yeah, you've lived here for a long time. Oh, I bet you've seen it change a lot. I'm like, yeah, but you know what? I don't want to be one of those people who's like, oh, yeah, San Francisco's over, man. Because, I mean, everything changes, right, Andrew?
Yeah.
I mean, the nature of systems is that they break down, right?
Exactly, and it's mostly self-correcting in that that eventually, the amount of people that can't afford to live here full time or whatever, or whatever will sort of catch up with it, and you will find that there will be nobody left to do service industry jobs because they can't afford to live within 50 miles of this place.
And also everybody thinks that the tech is the biggest industry in San Francisco, but it's actually tourism. So a lot of those tourism jobs are service jobs, and those people
they
can't
don't pay for
afford.
Shit. Yeah.
They don't pay that well unless you work in a place that you get really good tips.
Right.
So
unless you're Mr. Duckboat.
So whatever. Everything's changed. And now I will sound like a crotchety old man about this, but the only thing I will say about how the city has changed is the new people who've moved in, the tech people. I totally get along with them. I think they're, I don't have any real problems with them. But I will say they're not just not as interesting as the old guard. It's the old guard were usually people from other countries, artists, musicians, comedians, and now it's just a bunch of coders and bros.
Yeah, well, and they're basically driving out every single thing that that made them want to move here in the first place. Aside from the scenery, I guess. Aside from the views and hillside property and stuff like that. That's always going to be worth something. But a lot of people move to San Francisco because it's and even if they're working in the South Bay, they still want to live in San Francisco.
Yeah.
And and pay a ridiculous premium to do so. And the reason they're paying for that is because it's an interesting, cool place, and they're causing it to be less interesting and cool.
One of my favorite lines from the show Silicon Valley is in the first episode where they're taking their tech bus to wherever they're going to work. And one of the characters says, how come the rents are so high? He's talking about down the peninsula.
Yeah.
And he's like, how come the rents are so high down here? He's like, it's a pleasure to live in this dump. And I'm like, he must be talking about Redwood City.
That's right, San Carlos.
Yeah.
Suck it, San Carlos, because we got kicked off of a Caltrain near you once.
Also, I went to a trivia night on Monday night, and there was a little bit of drama.
You're cheating on trivia, or are you doing recon?
Well, I was kind of doing recon, but I went to the one at Shotwell's, and first off, we won.
Yeah.
Of course. I mean, not to say what everyone is just assuming.
Did you, when you won, did you stand up and be real cocky about it and be like, I fucking knew it? Because you're all stupid and I'm smart.
Strangely enough, I did do something very stupid like that. But the name of our trivia team was Waiting for the Tech Bust. And the guy who said it goes, ooh, political. Because I was looking around Shotwell's and everybody there is just
so it passes as controversy these days is talking out against corporations in the mission.
You know where you'd be?
No, you're a fucking rebel.
Know your place.
My God, you shush up. They'll kill you, I say.
So I just want to point out two things about the Shotwell's trivia night. I am speaking from someone who runs his own trivia night.
Right. It's constructive criticism.
Well, you'll find out.
Stop stealing my questions. That's how I won.
No, right. Absolutely. So their answer sheets are just little cubes of white paper, and so I'm writing the answers down on one, and I turn it over, and on the backside is a picture round from my trivia night. Yeah.
Wait a minute. So does that mean that he stole the paper from you, or he stole the idea?
He stole the idea. I'll tell you why. Because on one of my trivia nights, I had state flags, and so I had all these state flags, and I turned like the answer sheet over on the other side, and it had been cut up, but I could see three of the 10 state flags that I used on the other side of the answer sheet, and they were in the wrong order.
Right.
But they clearly somebody hipped them to their to a great idea that they heard at the right spot for a picture round.
Well, I love that. Like we were talking about Silicon Valley, and then we basically went into a story that like completely mirrors like the current Silicon Valley plot, where it's like, oh, they stole my idea, and like now we're not going to make billions of dollars, except it's in the highly lucrative like bar trivia industry.
I should have gone over to him and been like, you disrespect the game.
You'll be hearing from my lawyers. That's right, lawyers. I have more than one.
And not to blow my own horn, as I am doing already.
That's right. So what else did you do besides win at trivia and life?
We were like way behind as going in like after the first 2 rounds, and we made this furious comeback, tied it up. So then
just like Paul Pierce.
And then the trivia jockey or master, he says,
Denizen.
He's like, let's have one member of each team come up here, and we'll have like a final question, or we can have a dance-off. And like, of course, everybody's like cheering for the dance-off.
Right.
And I was like, I yelled at
right?
him. I was like, dancing has nothing to do with fucking trivia. And so I think I kind of shamed him a little bit.
Right.
And then he said, okay, well, we'll have a dance-off, and I'll ask you a trivia question, and you have to answer it while you're dancing. And I was like, all right, I'll do what it takes. But he said that the category is Academy Awards, and I was like, I got this. I was like, bring me any question.
I'll do a goddamn Charleston. I'll do the.
So I go up there with this other dude, and of course I'm getting like my ass handed to me in dancing. And the question is, what actor or actress has been nominated the most times, and how many times has he or she been nominated? And I was like, just ran over, wrote down Meryl Streep 18 times, and threw it in the guy's face. And they were not very nice over there. I mean, like, I wasn't nice.
Dropped my pants and fucking fired a rocket.
Whose balls am I putting on? Whose head am I putting my balls on?
That's great.
So, but the thing is, also, and the other like kind of controversial thing, it's not that controversial, but that's a question that I used in my trivia night as well. It's not that controversial because that's a pretty common Academy Award question. Right?
Yeah.
But you put that together with my picture round,
right?
And
it's a little leg. Yeah.
All I'm saying is, to the people who run the Shotwell's trivia night, I will fight you.
I expect better of you, Shotwells.
I challenge you to trivia, but instead of trivia, fists.
You're a decent bar, Shotwells. Don't ruin it by getting involved in the shady world of like stealing trivia.
Right, exactly. Are you trying to hustle me? All right, so that was my big story from this week.
Fantastic. Should we take a break and come back and talk about TV?
Yes, we'll take a break.
There's all kinds of TV goings on.
Yeah, and we'll talk about the bar a little bit more.
While you're out, enjoying life playing trivia, I'm busy watching television.
Somebody's gonna hold
for the podcast.
Somebody's gonna hold down the trivia game, and it ain't gonna be you, man. All right, this is SFBarkast, and we are at Steffs on 2nd. All right, and we are back at the goddamn asshole show.
Or, as it's also called, Steffs Bar. Steffs Sports Bar, I think.
Steffs Sports Bar.
What do you think of this place so far?
I like it a little. I mean, like, I like the fact, because I'm into sports, they have, they have so many TVs, and we're about to get a really good dose of a sports bar, because I believe there is a Stanley Cup hockey game.
So the place is about to fill with Tampa Bay Lightning fans.
And there's also a
that's not a thing.
NBA playoff game that is about to start as well, on top of the regular baseball bullshit.
I completely forgot about the other conference of the NBA.
That's true.
I think everyone's been like counting Atlanta out the entire time, I guess. So
I don't know if I'd want to play Atlanta. I mean, like I think it's a foregone conclusion that the Warriors will win, not only go to the finals, but they will also win.
Were you concerned at all when they went down 2-1 to Memphis?
I was a little concerned because I feel I don't want to seem like I've been telling all my Warrior fan friends. I was like, dude, like you guys are sweating it out, and like I didn't want to seem like I was being a dick about like getting their hopes up, and then like because I want them to win. But the thing is, I'm like as an objective observer, I'm like nobody's beating the Warriors, and so like I've been saying that for the entire like playoffs. So maybe I was a little worried about that, but I don't know about Atlanta. I mean, I feel like everything is breaking in the Warriors' favor. Like, when Chris Paul hurt himself, like, he was kind of compromised, and like if they had that,
Kevin Love going out,
Kevin Love goes down, and in the last game the Warriors played, Dwight Howard had his like knee all like iced up and couldn't play the second half.
Josh Smith found a way to fuck up the Rockets season somehow that didn't even involve him missing shots.
So it's like the Warriors are probably the healthiest, or maybe Atlanta. I think Atlanta is like pretty healthy in their young team, so maybe that would be like a great like final Atlanta against the Warriors because they're both young.
I feel like the thing that the thing that breaks really well makes me think that the Warriors are definitely going to win is that they didn't have the kind of season like if the Oklahoma City Thunder had made the playoffs, like they would have. I mean, like they couldn't have made it all the way because like Russell Westbrook was just like playing his balls off every night, and like you knew he was just going to blow up at some point. And I feel like the Warriors did an incredible job of like sort of like still winning a ton of games, but then pacing like some of their players too. Like they're not coming into this with like Bogut and like everybody limping or something like that. It's like everyone's pretty well rested.
All the Warrior fans are saying like Bogut has to stay healthy. Right. He's like the key, and I'm like, really? He's the key?
But I mean, the crazy thing is like 2 years ago, everybody would have been like, if we lose David Lee, we're screwed. And now David Lee like sees like 5 minutes a game, and so if Bogut goes out, then Lee will just like slide into that position pretty much. Right?
Steve Kerr has done an excellent job of making adjustments in the playoffs.
Yeah,
like there were in the last series, there were like 2 games where one game David Lee didn't even play. In the second game, in this other game, he played 6 minutes, and then he played like 18 minutes and like 20 minutes. So like he wove him in there really well. And I actually asked this friend of mine who's a huge Warrior fan, I was like, do you think Mark Jackson would have made those adjustments? He's like, no, that guy's awful.
Well, what do you think? It's funny that Doc Rivers, like his, I've never seen somebody go from like he always had such a great reputation as being like, really good like players coach and everything, but like the past like year or so with the Clippers, like after the Donald Sterling thing, like the Clippers are just this hateable team now that just complains about everything, and that's that's part of their sort of DNA at this point.
And it sucks because like the Clippers have enjoyed their 2 years where they were good, and now the Lakers are going to get Kobe Bryant back next. Right. The Lakers who played like dogs last year.
It's amazing.
Year.
Like I'm listening to like sort of sports podcasts that are like 2 days old, and everybody like predicted like they're like, well, we'll know if this is all a fucking sham if the Lakers get like one of the first 2 picks.
Well, also
and, sure enough, it happened.
But also people were saying we know it'll be a sham if in the draft lottery the Knicks get one of the big picks.
Yeah, true. Yeah,
and the Knicks didn't.
But you know what? I think the Knicks must not be willing to like play ball or whatever, like because they get screwed out of everything. I mean, ever since Ewing, like they haven't gotten a single break.
Well, people have been saying that, like, the Patrick Ewing thing, draft lottery, that was fixed because, like, the league wanted to have a good team in New York.
None of the Knicks championships.
Right. And the Knicks, like, they were okay when they had Ewing and they had, like, John Starks. But it's like if
grocery dagger.
If the league is honestly conniving to get New York a good team, they are sucking at doing
they're
this.
terrible at it.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And if they're trying to like put all of like the massive talent in New Orleans and Oklahoma City, like good for you, you did it.
Yeah, no joke. You think about Oklahoma City, they could have James Harden, Durant, and Westbrook on the same team.
New Orleans could have Anthony Davis and be coached by fucking
Calipari.
Calipari, yeah. The one big, the sports story that we sort of didn't talk about last week or didn't get to was that ESPN basically canned Bill Simmons, who
yes,
you've never been a huge fan of, but like
also that's a way of saying I hate him.
But I listened to the Deadspin podcast, like the sports guys as well.
I love those guys.
And you know what, like I respect their analysis and everything like that, but like so much of like everything they said was just this sort of atypical internet blogger kind of like reaction to everything, where it's like, you know what, like no one's really talented. They're just handed like all these opportunities by ESPN could have like taken somebody off the street, and if they gave him like the kind of access and like podcast that Bill Simmons had, like it'd be exactly the same. And like that's not fair at all. Like
I don't think
I feel like guys like that, if they ever get successful, they will hate everyone that like acts exactly the way that they do. Like,
I mean, I do think that he's got a face for radio, and
yeah,
he's
of course, yeah.
He's at his best when he's like writing, and people don't know who he was, and like although his writing, the thing that annoyed me the most about Bill Simmons was he would always like try to whip in some pop culture references that like nobody gave a shit about. Where it's like, it's like if Tommy from Road Rules
right.
actually talked to Tanya again, huh?
But I think it's also a way to get people that aren't that interested in sports to begin with, like more interested in sports. So like it kind of like
nobody watches Road Rules, and nobody watches
I watch Road Rules.
Nobody watches Road Rules, and nobody who watches The Real World.
Like, I do.
Is like gonna do like crossover. Is gonna be like, oh, I'm not really that into sports, but I'm into
right.
Road Rules. But I hear this sports guy talks about them, so I'm gonna go over and listen to him. Like you have to
just describe my wife.
But does she actually listen to?
Yeah, she's listening
to Bill Simmons
because she loves Chuck Klosterman as well. And like, so, it's like a great crossover, and Dave Jacoby and Julia Lippman or whatever. A couple of other like things like there was like some crossover appeal there. Like so it's it's a bit of a shame, but like I guess it happens, and like life goes on. But
it's I never read his Grantland just because I can't
right.
stand. I can't stand him, but does Chuck Klosterman talk about like underrated like rock bands?
Of course, like, and somehow relates it to Friday Night Lights or like Billy Joel songs or something.
Right, exactly. When they're like, how about if we rank like real world like
right.
characters with the Billy Joel songs? Who would come out on top?
Speaking of which, I don't want to forget this, and it's too early for plugs. This is an anti-plug. I listened to the new Brendan Flowers album, and I hate it. I think it sucks.
Oh, really? Well,
yeah.
I mean,
and it's like,
so you're the one that listened to is it a solo album?
Yes.
The lead singer of the Killers.
I actually heard a few people saying it's like the greatest album in the last 20 years or something. Like some horse shit like that, and it's not. It's terrible.
Well, I know what's going on here, Andrew. You heard me talking shit about Bill Simmons, and you got a little jealous. And you're like, well, I got to talk a little shit about somebody over here. I can't let
exactly.
Jeff spew all the bile.
Right. Like, what am I doing saying nice things? This isn't me.
Exactly. Come back to yourself. Okay, so I want to, because it is David Letterman's last show tonight.
Oh, yeah.
I was going to read some top 10 lists.
Cool.
Not some top 10 lists, but like just some things from top 10 lists.
Right, some random
past.
top 10s or top 10 items, numbers.
Although I have it here on the phone, but
yeah.
I don't even need the phone. Because you and I could go like back and forth, right? Okay,
Probably.
So Andrew, what is like some of your favorite David Letterman top 10 lists from back in the day? Oh, also, I should say, Andrew, do you think I can say concretely David Letterman probably had the most influence on my sense of humor of anybody when I was a kid?
I would say like between Steve Martin and David Letterman, probably like
maybe
a
like
close
David
call.
Letterman, Eddie Murphy,
yeah.
Maybe George Carlin, and then like
Jimmy
later,
Carter.
what?
Jimmy Carter, Walter Mondale.
Did you say Jim Cotter?
No, not Jim Cotter. He had a lot of influence on me, but not that much.
And then of course later, like The Simpsons had an enormous effect on my sense of humor.
Yeah.
But Andrew, what are some of your favorite, like early David Letterman, like top tens?
Wow, let's see. Certainly one of them would be slogans, top 10 slogans for Cher's perfume.
And one of them would be?
One of them would be now in the easy pour splatterproof bottle.
I believe number one was bring out the Bono in your man.
Which probably predates Bono from U2, so nobody would be confused.
That was back when Sonny Bono was alive.
It was pre-skiing into a tree, Sonny Bono.
I also liked, he had top 10 Amish pickup lines. And one of them was, these quilting bees are so full of phonies. Let's you and me get out of here.
That couldn't have been better timed. I hope the microphone picked that up.
There's also top 10 headlines that would cause a riot.
Right.
One of them was like, Seals and Croft, Brewer and Shipley form supergroup.
I also enjoy. There was a sort of period of time like when I think like David Letterman like sort of really wanted the top 10 list to go away. He thought it was an albatross, and so like half of the top 10 lists would just be like, here's a top 10 list of the numbers between 1 and 10. It's like number 3, 6.
Well, one of them's like, here is a top 10 list of things that almost rhyme with grape.
Right.
One of the things that immediately endeared me to David Letterman is that my parents like hated him.
Right.
Or at least my dad like hated him, because I remember watching like one night and he was doing the top 10 list and he's like, how does he come up with these rankings?
What's his science?
Exactly. This isn't accurate.
This is a straw poll at best. I call specious research.
And immediately I'm like, but also like reminds me of my favorite Dana Gould story about something I referenced earlier that nobody picked up on. I guess Dana Gould was telling a story about how he and his friends loved Devo when they were young, and they loved SNL. And so, like, they were up late at night in the 80s watching Devo perform on SNL. And it's like, the 80s, so Devo's got, like, the yellow costumes and, like, the flower pot hats. And his dad, like, walked through the room, looked at Devo on the screen, and just said, what is this, the goddamn asshole show?
I can't, so we did, like, our last episode was the Patriot House, and then, like, we come to Steffs Sports Bar, and we're assaulted with, like, the national anthem, like, at top volume.
Fuck. Well, they were doing that for the Rangers.
Rangers Lightning.
Okay, yeah. So I guess they don't have to do the Canadian national anthem.
It's kind of great. Like, the Final Four in the NHL, it's, like, two of, like, the most historic old franchises in the league, and then probably the two franchises that shouldn't be in the league because nobody knows what ice looks like there.
I don't know what the fourth one is. So we have the Blackhawks and the Rangers that are the old school.
Yeah, they're like original 6.
And then we have Tampa Bay
Lightning.
And who's the last one?
The Anaheim Ducks.
Mighty Ducks.
They dropped the Mighty. They don't want to look like a non-serious franchise.
It's like when the University of Hawaii, they used to be called the Rainbow Warriors.
And they're like, we don't like gay people.
Right? No, exactly. They were like, we're dropping the rainbow because we've seen what happens in San Francisco that one weekend.
Can you imagine, think about how much money Skittles would pay to sponsor a team called the Rainbow Warriors, and you just threw all that money away because you got a problem with guys sucking each other off.
And
I'm sorry, homosexuality.
the other real issue there is that the reason why they're called the Rainbow Warriors is because there's so many rainbows in Hawaii after it rains.
Right.
So if you just cut out the rainbow because you're afraid that someone will think that you're blowing another guy,
right.
Then you're just like the Warriors, and it's then you lose all of your local credibility.
Next thing you know, Chaminade's the most popular university in Hawaii.
Fuck them. Do you want to take a break? Or do you want to keep going with television?
No. Let's take a break, and we'll come back and we'll talk about some finales that are happening besides the Letterman show.
Okay, this is SFBarkast, and we are at Steffs Sports Bar in downtown, the financial district. All right, and we are back at Steffs Sports Bar on 2nd Street, downtown San Francisco.
2nd and Minna.
I got another top 10 for you.
Okay, go ahead.
It was top 10 things overheard on or said into a New York City payphone.
Right.
And I think number 1 was, I dialed this number and I didn't use my fingers. But one of them was, yes, this is Frank Stallone calling from my car phone.
That's great. There are not nearly enough Frank Stallone jokes on television.
And there's so
in my opinion.
There's so much in those early years on Letterman with that has just basically found its way into my permanent psyche.
Right.
There's still some things that they said very casually back then that I still say today. Remember when Chris Elliott was on, right, and he asked Dave if he drank, and Dave said, "No, not that much anymore." And he said, "Well, Dave, I can drink as much as I want because unlike you, I am not an alcoholic." I say that about once a week now.
I will say that as much as I love to hear millennials' opinions on everything else, you don't have to have an opinion or write a think piece about David Letterman because it's okay to say that something was before your time and
yes.
You can just leave it at that and not go into calling him a has-been or somebody that hasn't tried in 20 years and all this other crap I've been hearing.
Well, think of it this way: what if you compared and contrast David Letterman with
right,
Jimmy Fallon? Jimmy
right,
Fallon, who does a very good job on his show,
yeah,
but he's the anti-David Letterman. David Letterman could be a little salty and curmudgeonly,
right?
And he picked fights with people. Jimmy Fallon's like that. I get along with everybody guy,
exactly.
And it's just that's what the millennials have. That's what you have. I'll take my David Letterman.
Right.
You can have your Jimmy Fallon, who does some very funny stuff,
right,
but at the same time, he's kind of too nice of a dude.
Yeah,
dude,
Letterman was definitely not afraid to, if somebody was giving him a line of shit or was not a genuine person in any way, would definitely call him out on it and it'd be okay, if this is the game you're playing, here's the game I'm playing. Go fuck yourself.
Remember when he fought with Brian Gumbel?
Yeah, totally.
But that would never happen on Jimmy. Jimmy Fallon is such a nice guy. He calls Barry Sobel back. This guy has no taste.
Well, to be fair, Jimmy Fallon has bodyguards at this point that can fend off certain advances.
Well, why can't those bodyguards retrieve the sex tapes that Barry Sobel's holding over his head?
You would think that would be a good idea.
What else do we have?
Oh, boy. Well, let's see. Beta Breakers was last weekend. Did you happen to go to that?
Did not go at all.
Well, judging by the pictures I saw on SFBarkast, we missed nothing because it looked like a fucking snooze.
Yeah, that's true. I actually...
no one has any... There wasn't a single costume where I was that's fucking brilliant.
Exactly. Hell, I'll say that I didn't go, so I can't really speak from a position of authority here. But I did used to like going to Beta Breakers,
right,
just to check out the pictures, the costumes, and to see what it. But I don't know, everything I've seen from last weekend seemed like it was pretty boring. There was one year I went, and it was right after. Wasn't the Branch Davidians, but there was this huge bust of
the Heaven's Gate cult or something. Or?
No, it wasn't Heaven's Gate, but it was a huge bust of I don't know, Mormon. But basically, people were dressed like Mormon, like a Mormon.
Oh, okay. So kind of Big Love, Sister Wives and shit.
Sister Wives, stuff like that.
Right.
It was a big Mormon bust, like a polygamy bust. And I was like, oh, that's torn right out of the recent headlines.
Shout out to the band Mr. Wives, by the way.
Mr. Wives?
Yeah.
I used to do an old joke about how when I used to love going to Beta Breakers because I love seeing people. It starts at 8 in the morning, right? And
right.
all the traffic is totally. If you're trying to get anywhere, it's just impossible. So you have to leave really early. I loved seeing people dressed in their dumb costumes and like on their cell phones, like furious at their friends because their friends hadn't shown up yet.
Right.
And it's like I saw this one dude who was dressed as a big penis, and he was just yelling into the phone. He's like, "Where the fuck are you?" He's like, "No, there's traffic. I know there's traffic. I made it. Billy made it. Where are you?" He's like, "I'm a dick. He's a ball. Where are you?" And he's like, "No, this isn't a Lance Armstrong costume."
we're not. It's not an Adolf Hitler suit.
So, I don't know. Maybe I would have had fun if I went, but 8 in the morning. Wow, that's
come on.
That's a little hard for me.
Not necessary.
Although, do you know who was the main sponsor this year?
I believe it was a certain online shoe corporation.
It's a little company called Zappos that one of our hosts here was the 11th employee at.
I was gonna guess Vans.
Oh, okay. You would have been wrong.
Well, I guess so.
I actually had drinks with Tony Hsieh.
Holy shit! Someone just walked in with a Tampa Bay Lightning jersey on. Like I did not expect that.
It's like seeing a unicorn.
Exactly. I'm sorry. Go on.
I had drinks with Tony Hsieh the night before.
Name dropper.
Yes, name dropper. I mean, he's the CEO of Zappos.
Yeah.
And and I was
no
like,
big deal.
Well, my big thing was like, Tony and I used to go out and go to nightclubs and stuff. So I was like,
right.
Where's the party tonight? Where are we going? And he's like, what are you talking about? He's like, I got to be down there at 8 in the morning. I was like, you've changed, man.
You've let $1 billion corporation come between our friendship.
It's like, what? It's like, when I knew you, we wouldn't sleep for days.
That's right. Give me my money.
You know what? Looking around at Steffs, not just because they have so many televisions here.
Yeah.
But they have they have a pool table in the back, which is sports related. Right. But they do a pretty good job of their sports bar memorabilia photos.
Yeah, certainly better than like Greens, where it's just like, hey, like here's a fucking JCPenney ad where like dad playing tennis. Like frame it and put it up.
Yeah, like if you're at a sports bar where they just basically taken like covers from Sports Illustrated
right. and
put it in a frame.
Like they go to a garage sale, buy all the Sports Illustrateds, and like open a bar.
That is the definition of that's when someone says it's the least I could do. It's like
right.
No, it is the least I could do.
Other than like spray painting the word sports on the wall.
Right. But yeah, they have some pretty good photos. I could see. By
the way,
I
would totally go to a bar that said it was a sports bar, and all it was like an empty room with the word sports spray painted on the wall.
And as we mentioned earlier, I would totally watch a show called The Goddamn Asshole Show.
I would TiVo the shit out of it.
What else is going on this week?
Oh, gosh.
We're doing television.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
Mad Men.
Yeah, there was that thing, the 8 seasons of Mad Men finally came to a close.
So here's this. Do you think enough time? It's been less than a week. So if you haven't seen the final episode of Mad Men, you probably shouldn't listen to this because I'm just going to tell you what happened.
Fast forward like 10 minutes. We should be done by then.
I very much like some of the lead-ups to the final episode. Like I loved how the character Joan ended up.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
I don't know how I feel about the Peggy character ending up with Stan, because he was kind of like, oh yeah, by the way, I'm in love with you.
Right.
And she's like, oh my God, I've always been. It's like, but there was no hint there at all. Although I will say, like, there was like a kind of an appeal to that, because I've always, in my professional career, there's always been somebody in my workplace that I like had a huge crush on that I never told.
Right.
So that happens.
Sure, yeah. Like, no, I think like I think it came to a decent end, and like it didn't do anything that made me like roll my eyes or like like really like such and such does this, or like it did a good job of sort of like satisfying like all of the things you want from an ending, and and it had like the thing at the very end, like like to as a sort of exclamation point, and like I've heard like some TV critics criticize that and say that like it was too much of a thing of like Matt Weiner like fucking punching himself in the shoulder and being like, haha, you're brilliant, like like that there was some sort of like sort of like overwrought wink to the camera or something like that, but like I didn't feel that way at all. I thought it was really great.
Whoever said that is a fucking idiot.
Yeah, that's true.
Let me tell you something. Like I liked like basically the very end, the last scene where he finally smiles and he's like sitting at this like California retreat. It's like when he finally, with that last shot where he finally like cracks a smile, you realize even though this guy's been super successful his entire life, he's just like this like lady killer. He was just a miserable guy. And like if the final like frame of the entire like show is that he's found a way to actually like himself.
Right.
And like that's a huge victory.
Oh yeah.
Especially for that character.
Yeah. Well, and like as somebody else pointed out that like what made like the degree of difficulty so so high for this show was that like the only like sort of driving external force is like everyone's fucked up personalities, and like usually you have like zombies or like fucking like people dying of cancer coming into a hospital. Like there's always some like driving force of drama, and like to do an 8-season show where like the only driving force is like people being shitty either to themselves or to others, like and yet still be kind of enjoyable to watch is like pretty amazing. Like
I was a little surprised like when they did. When they gave the January Jones character cancer.
Right. Spoiler alert.
Spoiler. Like, I mean, it's like
I know we already said
I understand. I mean, I kind of understand that, but I was kind of expecting that somebody to have some sort of result of all their drinking, like maybe like psoriasis or not psoriasis or liver failure or something like that. Because I know people who stopped watching the show because they felt like there was no consequences to this. They felt like there was just like no consequences to the way people were living.
Right.
And the only consequence that got levied towards the end is that the Birdie character got lung cancer, and of course she keeps smoking.
Yeah.
Because those two things can't be fucking related.
Right. But which is something that I saw people doing in like the 70s. Like I knew friends of my parents and stuff like that. They were like, oh yeah, he's lung cancer, and like they're smoking out of a hole in their neck or whatever. It's like it's fucking awful.
My late aunt, she had lung cancer from smoking, and then she had to have one of her lungs removed. Right. And when she got out of the hospital, she was smoking again because in her way, she's like, she lived her life like a fucking motorcycle gang.
Right.
It's like fuck it.
It's like, what am I gonna do? Like. Live long enough to be a burden for you assholes. Like, I don't trust any of you to take care of me, so fuck it.
So I did like the ending. Oh, don't you kind of feel like whether it's The Sopranos or any like finale, like are critics ever going to be like happy with like, oh my god, that was great? Like, have you ever heard someone a finale just from a show that everybody loved so much and had such a connection to? Like, I thought the ending of like The Sopranos was fucking amazing. I thought it was fantastic. And people just could not like shit on it enough.
Right. Right. Well, because it wasn't exactly what they wanted, and if
what did you
if
want?
like somebody burst in and like shot Tony Soprano full of holes in slow motion, like everyone would just be like, yeah, of course, whatever. Like, no one would ever talk about it again. And like, a lot of people would be rightfully sort of disappointed and be like, really? Like, the whole thing was just leading up to that? Except for, like, the people that complained about the ending that they got, which, like, like you said, they're just idiots. They're just, like oh, I didn't, like, it challenged me. Like, I hate you.
Also, like, the ending of The Sopranos, wasn't it kind of, like, implied that there might have been a hit coming there?
Of
and
course,
they were like, oh, yeah, so, all right. And then when they went to black, it's like people were bitching that they didn't get to see everybody get murdered.
Right.
It's like, what kind of fucking horrible person are you?
Right. It's like people that are watching like 9/11 footage and like they cut away and they're like, hey, what the hell? I want to see that guy fucking like eat it into the ground. Like,
yeah, it's just. I will say one of my favorite finales of any show that I watched religiously was 6 Feet Under. The ending of 6 Feet Under is just so emotional and so it lived up to all of my expectations.
Yeah, I mean, I would say like the end of Breaking Bad was amazing too. Like,
yeah, the ending, the last of Breaking Bad. Yeah, you know what that
I mean, people say that like the sort of penultimate season was the best, and it probably was. But like I mean, you couldn't end that show a different way, I guess. I mean, like,
the end of Breaking Bad, you didn't hear too much bitching about that, but
yeah.
I think that was like, at that point, people were just so in love with the show, and it was such a spectacle. And like a lot of people say that one of the best shows ever was The Wire, but the thing is, I don't think it at the time, it didn't have the celebration that like a Breaking Bad or
it's like a weird,
like
this
Men
weird
enjoy.
sort of like relationship that people get into with shows where like, because you had like something like Lost, like
there's another
that show
one. Everybody
failed completely because like because it listened to all, its fans basically. It said like, oh, everybody wants this to happen, so we'll make this happen, and they did, and then everybody was like, fuck, that's stupid, and like and the whole show just sort of petered out, like and was just like, well, we don't know what to do anymore. You guys have like tied our hands so much with like what you want that we have
Why are they listening to these nerds living in their parents' basement?
And that's the thing, but if you're too arrogant, like as a show creator, people will like hate you for that.
People think that he doesn't care about me. Well, guess what? He doesn't.
Yeah, he doesn't.
Or they don't.
Guess what? Like you're a small percentage of what he cares about, which is a viewer.
My problem with the ending of Lost is like leading up to the last Lost episode.
Yeah.
People like online were like saying like, oh well, this is the whole thing is like a purgatory allegory,
right?
Where
it was like never like 3 years before the finale.
Right, exactly. But like the producers were like, it's absolutely not that. It's absolutely not that. And then of course they did it. It's like, oh, we couldn't come up with anything better that some jackass like posted like 3 years ago. So we're gonna go with that.
Right. So you can see this board meeting where they're like, "Hey, can you believe this? Like, this guy online thinks it's purgatory. So what is it? We'll shoot it around the room." And everyone's like, "I don't know."
They said, one of the producers.
Not that. That's for sure. Well, okay, we'll give you a couple days to think of a better idea than that.
One of the producers says, "Okay, so I just got offline and I had told everybody where it's definitely not a purgatory thing." And another producer's like, "Wait a minute. What if we switch it around and we make it that? Genius. Run with that."
Oh my God. Everyone will be so surprised when we tell them what the ending is 3 years in advance.
It's crazy like a fox.
What a bunch of jerks.
All right, you ready to take a break?
Yeah, let's take a break and we'll come back, talk more about the bar, and who knows? There might be bad Yelp reviews, who knows?
Oh yeah, let's do that.
I haven't even looked at it.
All right, this is SFBarkast, and we are at Steffs on 2nd Street. All right, and we are back at Steffs Sports Bar, downtown SF.
Steffs Sports Bar.
Steffs Sports Bar. Are you ready for some bad Yelp reviews?
Sure, why not?
Yelp.
I need somebody. This place has been here for a while, so I'm thinking that unlike Patriot House, which we did last week, we'll have a little opportunity for people to write bad Yelp reviews.
Yeah, definitely. Well, and the several times that I've been to this place, it's funny because like as the city becomes like more and more like infested with tech people.
Right before you finish that, you and I are the only ones wearing headsets in this bar. It's like, yeah, these fucking tech assholes.
That's
right.
Go right
ahead.
Damn it. Fucking everything's a podcast to you assholes, isn't it? I feel like this place is almost like a welcome respite from like these sort of super ritzy places that have
I see
sprung
where
up.
you're going. Like I definitely agree. It's definitely an everyman kind of bar.
Yeah, like I used to be like, it's kind of a shady bar, but like now I'm like, it's like this is where like actual people hang out.
I know you, Andrew. You like some places that are a little rough around the edges.
Sure.
You like dirt and shit.
That's right. I like to go weeks without showering and eat my own turds.
Yeah, so this is kind of your place.
Right. Yeah, fair enough. I guess you really pegged me there.
So you want to go first with your bad
sure.
Yelp review? And
yeah, why not?
Who does your bad Yelp review come from?
Ooh, mine comes from Lauren O, who is the lead singer of the No No No's, I think. Right?
Oh, yeah, there we go.
Good one. Anyway, Lauren O says, came in for a drink before a show at the Harlot a block over. It's not a very nice place, so we thought we could get some cheap drinks. I got a vodka Red Bull, which ended up being $10 because they give you the can of Red Bull to keep. Why on earth would I want three-quarters full can of Red Bull to carry around with my drink? In addition to that, when I went to the bathroom, I was surprised to find that the door is a curtain, all in caps.
Wait a minute. I love what first off, she came from Harlot, which is
a goth club, right?
No, it's like this she club, right
right
around the corner. And second off, she's like, what am I supposed to do with this can of Red Bull? You drink it.
Either that or you can just throw it out. Would you rather that they gave you the drink and then poured the rest in the garbage?
I feel like this person, if they didn't give her the can, they threw it out in front of her,
right.
she'd bitch about that.
When she goes to an old-timey ice cream place and gets a milkshake and they give it to her in that steel cup, that comes to the side of it, is she like, you assholes, what am I supposed to do with this?
I love that's her attitude. Or it's like, what am I supposed to do with this? I have investment bankers to blow.
I am far too busy going to Harlot. So anyway, she went to the bathroom and she was surprised to find out that, all caps, the door is a curtain. This place literally could not be ghettoer.
It should say
a handy word to let us know that you're a racist.
It should say, pay no attention to that person behind the curtain taking a dump.
Right, exactly. On the upside, if you're hammered, they do sell hot dogs and packages of beef jerky. All right, you know what? That is an upside, so why the 1 star?
So she
Lauren.
She likes going to nice places like Harlot, but she also likes hot dogs and beef jerky.
And you know what? If you have any leftover after you make a drink, please pour it on the floor. Don't give it to me, because that makes me mad.
What am I supposed to do with that?
Exactly.
So mine comes from Samantha Y.
Samantha Y? Samantha Y?
Why, you ask? Because she's pissed off.
All right.
So I went in for a shot of Fernet. Bartender was nice.
Well, already, she sounds like a winner.
I'm going to go on a side note here. When I was having drinks with Tony, he likes to drink Fernet.
Okay.
And when I was in Las Vegas...
Make of that whatever you will.
But when I was in Las Vegas, I took the tour of his downtown project offices.
You're like hot and cold running Fernet?
And part of the tour is you go through Tony's apartment, which for me is not a big deal because I just when I go to Vegas, I just go and hang out with them anyway.
Right.
And so they take us...
But this is probably really impressive to the sort of... what would you call Tony's sort of Zen-like following?
I don't know, suck-ups?
Okay,
I don't know.
All right, fair enough.
There were people who were holding his book and hoping that he could get it signed by him, whatever.
All right.
So we're going through Tony's apartment, and Tony has a Fernet dispenser there. And the tour guide goes, has anybody here heard of Fernet? And no.
And everyone's like, duh.
People were scratching their heads, what is that? Is that a drink that makes you smarter?
Is that some sort of Vietnamese super business drink?
And they were like, it's Tony's favorite drink, Fernet. And this was last summer.
It's the most pretentious thing that people in San Francisco drank in 2007.
He's like, this was last summer, and granted, a lot of these people were tourists to Las Vegas, but it's Fernet, that it's been on the scene for quite some time now. Although I can't tell you what's in it.
No.
It's people say it's herbs.
It's one of those I guess it's Italian, right? But it's one of those sort of Middle European medicinal dirt drinks where it's
right.
It's hey, if I boil all of the dirt around my house, it tastes like gross medicine, but gets you kind of messed up. Let's sell it to the world.
when it first hit the scene in San Francisco, people were saying, well, you know what? Fernet is what bartenders drink because you can't get hungover drinking Fernet. I would like to challenge the veracity of that claim.
You also can't enjoy yourself either because it tastes like garbage.
But it's like, I'm willing to bet if anything has alcohol in it, guess what? You can get hungover on it.
Right.
You can get hungover from drinking mouthwash. Okay?
Right.
There's nothing in like the drink, the magical drink that's going to make you not hungover. Okay, back to my bad Yelp review.
Oh yeah. There's that.
What was I doing again? Okay, so she went into the bartender. She said, went in for a shot of Fernet. Bartender was nice. Poured me a shot. I put a $10 bill in the bar. It was $7, which is fine.
Sure.
Emphasis mine.
Okay. Yeah. Well, and you know what? That is fine. That's a fair price for a shot in this city. So go on.
As I was taking my shot, a different bartender, woman with pink hair,
ooh,
dun dun dun,
Someone thinks they're an individual.
Came and took my $3 and put it in her tip jar. What the fuck?
Yeah, because you left your change on the bar. That's what usually happens.
I would have tipped, but wait for me to finish my drink and leave my tip. Don't assume.
That's not the way it works.
And you don't, and you didn't even serve me, Miss Pink. I won't be back. Tacky.
Well, first of all,
Samantha.
Anybody that's been to a bar before knows that like they pretty much collect tips upon like you paying.
Yeah.
And then also the tip usually goes into like a master tip jar, so it doesn't matter who the fuck picks it up. Like it's all it's all going to the same place. So
and also, if she wasn't there initially, she had no idea how long. Like maybe she didn't know that was your change. Maybe she thought there was a bunch of people there.
What if you take like all night to drink your stupid Fernet? Like, is that person supposed to wait around for your tip?
What if you like sipping your Fernet, not shooting Fernet?
What if you're just there to be a pretentious asshole drinking Fernet and you don't actually drink it?
I have like one other thing to say about this, but I'll wait for my final analysis.
Okay.
Andrew, what is your final analysis, Phil Giuanu, of Steffs Sports Bar?
It's surprising to me because I would 3 or 4 years ago, I would have probably thought negatively of this bar.
What do you think of it now?
Now, like I say, I think it's like that the upper echelon bars have gotten so sort of like crowded and awful and like and unoriginal that like a place like this really is sort of like a throwback in a weird way, and like it's enjoyable. So I give it 19 stars out of 45.
I can't really follow your logic. I think like what you're saying is that like because everything else has gotten so intolerable, this bar that used to suck is now tolerable.
It is. I guess it is a bit of a misanthropic opinion.
I'm gonna give it a C plus.
Yeah.
Out of I don't know. Maybe I'll give it like an L out of like the entire alphabet.
Okay, perfect.
I will say my biggest complaint, and it kind of harks back to Samantha Wise, bad Yelp review, is she said, "Oh, $7 for a shot of Fernet. That's pretty average, right?"
Yeah.
But we were here, and I was like, asked for a glass of house red wine, and she was like, "It's $10."
Wow.
I'm like, that's more expensive than going to Shotwell's. And I don't go to Shotwell's because I'd like to drink wine now. That because I'm fancy.
Yeah. Well, and even in the city, you could probably go to a liquor store across the street and get a bottle of whatever they're serving for $10.
Right, and so
like they're not. I'm sure that Steffs Sports Bar isn't rolling out the fucking Beaujolais.
And also, we live in Northern California. Wine isn't this like fucking exotic thing. It's like, ooh,
we have to ship it all the way from across the street.
Right, yeah, exactly. So $10 for a glass of house red wine is fucking ridiculous. Especially for a place like this.
Yes, Steph.
But I think it's just because like nobody drinks wine here. I'm looking around. Sports bars really aren't like very hip on their wine selection, right? So
it is sort of the anti-wine bar, I guess.
That was my only problem with the bar. But the whole time I've been here, it's kind of filled up. It definitely does have the after-work crowd.
Yeah,
which
totally. Yeah.
I'm not that thrilled with. I mean, if you like coming to a bar and looking at guys like being on their phones, this is the place for you.
Right.
And every once in a while, looking up and like watching like a hockey game.
Yeah.
But because I'm a sports fan, I'm going to give it like a solid C+, because
That sounds about right.
yeah. I mean, if they didn't have any sports on here, it'd be a fucking F-.
I'd be on the news right now if I like blowing the place up.
This is a bar that, if it didn't have sports, this would be a bar that would need to be rescued.
I wanted to.
Do you have any plugs?
Yeah, quick plug. I was going to plug Talking Bird / Star Wars podcast again. I wanted to plug the show Happy-ish with Steve Coogan. I think it's on Showtime. It's called Happy-ish, and it's like an advertising show with Steve Coogan in it, and it's pretty funny.
I very much don't like Steve Coogan, but like if you say the show's good, I might like look into it.
He's great. Like he's funny in it. Like,
really?
Yeah. I like it.
I don't have much to plug. How about if I plug Paco Remain's new podcast, which is all about, do you know the name of it?
I think it's called Sup Doc.
Sup Doc, yeah.
SUPDOC.
Which I don't really, I think he could have done a better name. I told him he should have called it. It's a podcast about documentary films.
Yeah.
And I've known Paco for a long time, and he told me like I had no idea he was obsessed with documentary films. And he says he watches one every single day, at least one every single day.
Holy crap!
So which is pretty amazing, and I think he's going to have us on at some point. But it's called
great.
What's Up?
He's already had Drew Harmon on, so like.
What did Drew talk about?
He talked about the Iron Sheik documentary. Which,
right.
Which I have to think that like Joe Gorman wants to kick his fucking ass now. Like,
you know who would win that fight? The American public. So we're going to be on that podcast soon. It's called Sup Doc.
Sup Doc.
I would have called it Doccast.
Right.
But I call everything something cast.
We call it Doc Severinsen.
Doc Severinsen. And I'm very much looking forward to, it'll be over by the time this drops, but I'm very much looking forward to the David Letterman final show tonight.
Yeah, totally. And Godspeed and all that. And like to any millennials that, question David Letterman's influence or his abilities, I say, go fuck yourself.
And to close out, here's some of the top 10 questions people ask David Letterman. And number 8 is, if you're really a detective, shouldn't you have some ID? And number 5 is, why would I pull your finger?
All right.
So very much thanks, much love to David Letterman.
Happy trails.
And you got anything else?
No.
All right. Well,
go Warriors.
I think that's go Warriors, and I think that's it for us. So this is SFBarkast signing off from Steffs Sports Bar. I am Jeff Cleary.
I am Andrew Lott.
And we'll see you next time.